Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to Wednesday Marathon. As we keep saying, it's that one we do, the bigger catalogues. Anything with any band or artist with more than 13 gets put into a marathon. So today it's a sort of a request. It's from Dave. Now, he loves this band, Beggars Opera. I'd only heard, to be quite honest, their debut album. I hadn't listened to anything else, so this was a bit of a discovery, and a great discovery for me. Put it this way, I've now put them all on an iPod for now until I can start buying them. I think they're great. I love all their albums. Okay, apart from one which is a little bit suspect, but most of the albums are really good. It was a tough one, this was, because they've made some great music and they've had different singers and different people. But they were formed back in 1969 by guitarist Ricky Gardner and vocalist Martin Griffiths and Marshall Erskine. Now, this was formed after they'd been working together on building the M40 near Beaconsfield. So they all moved back to Glasgow and to look for an organist and drummer, and recruited the great Alan Park on keyboards and Raymond Wilson on drums, and the rest is history. Lots of the people moved on, but they've had a good solid run through the years, and they have released 13 studio albums. So let's have a look at the catalogue of Scotland's Beggars Opera. So coming in at number 13, now this is an album from 1980 and it's their 7th, and it's called Lifeline. Now, the information I got on this, it's got Lily Patterson on vocals, Gordon Seller on guitar, Alan Park on keyboards, but we don't know who the drummer or the bass player is. Yes, mystery. So the first track is the title track, and that is called Lifeline. Not a bad track, some lovely little bit of keyboard work from Alan Park, who's a really good keyboard player, and I do like that. The next track is I Gave You Love. The guitars are great on this from Gordon Seller. It's okay. Not a bad track, to be quite honest. Yeah, You Never Believe I'm Human. Bit 80s. It's got some nice little quirky keyboards in it, but it's a bit mediocre. Showman in a Showdown. It doesn't sound like it's Beggars Opera at all. It's really strange, poppy 80s. It just didn't flow for me. Yes, I Need Someone. It's not the best track on here, but it has got some wonderful keyboard work from Alan Park, so it isn't all bad. Lost in Space. Yeah, it's okay. It's best one on here is Now You're Gone. It is a bit different. It's not what I was expecting, but for some reason I like it. I think I like the quirkiness of the keyboards from Alan again. Bad Dreams, nah. It's a terrible track. Doesn't even sound proggy. And the last track, Four Moons, is pleasant enough, but to me it's not Beggars Opera at all. It's a nice tune, but you wouldn't associate it with the band Beggars Opera. Yeah, it's not the best album in the world. I'd say this is their blip. Bit poppy, but it has got some great little keyboard bits from Alan. But on the whole, it's not the best album that they put out, so I'll probably say this is their blip. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 3 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 12, we go to 2007 now, and this is their 8th album, and it's called Close to My Heart. So it's got Ricky Gardner on guitar and bass, the wonderful Virginia Scott on piano, mellotron and vocals, and Tom Gardner on the get his name right, on drums. Okay, Secret, my favourite track. Now, Beggars Uppers had this thing of just starting off with Ricky Gardner coming in and playing a great bit of guitar, like he does on this. No messing about, bang, Ricky's in there. It's the best track on the album. It's a lovely sort of vocal as well. A little bit of vocally from Virginia. Pretty good track to start the album. Passing her. Virginia's vocals are really good on this. I think she's a great singer. You know, she was an asset to this band when they got her in. Not just a good keyboardist, piano player, but a very good singer. Excellent track. Close to My Heart, the title track, pretty good. Solid track. Love the vocals and the keyboards on this. Really good. Then we have a track called Ha Ha. Great bass line from Ricky. Pretty decent track as well. Tight Blue Lips. Really freaky keyboards here from Virginia. Very spacey and psychedelic in places. I do quite like that in a strange way. Warm Eyes comes next. Some lovely acoustic guitar here from Ricky, but I am not keen on Virginia's vocal on this. Oh dear. Very strange vocal. Apparently Uncontrolled comes now. Now this is great. You've got singing and spoken word from Virginia, and it really works. And it's got a great little bit of guitar work from Ricky as usual. Senselessness is the next track. Very strange, bit higgledy-piggledy, bit disjointed, and the vocals very strange. You Stranger. There's more talking in this than singing. It's very weird and very repetitive. Angular's Thread, another very strange song. You think you could get singing and then you get more talking, and it's a bit, whoa, are they on something here? Meet Me, this is the worst track on the album. It's just weird, strange thing. Then we get the last track, Here Comes Everybody. This is more like it. One of my favourite tracks on here. Nice little rocker, some lovely keyboards. Yeah, this album starts really strong and then it sort of falls, the wheels come off in the middle. But they managed to get the wheels back on for the last track. Yeah, so the ones in the middle are very strange tracks. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5.5. Okay, coming in at number 11. This is the 9th album from 2010, and it's called All Tomorrow's Thinking, and it's Ricky, Virginia, and Tom again. So the first track is called How She Swam. I love the start of the game. We got some lovely guitar work from Ricky as ever, and it's a really strong vocal from Virginia. When she could sing, she sang well. Sometimes she went off on one, but it's a great strong vocal. Tomorrow's Thinking is next. I think it's okay. Virginia's voice is not too bad on this. It's quite a good track. My favourite track though is this one, Those Echoes. Starts off with some more lovely guitar work from Ricky, and then probably the best vocal by Virginia on this album. Absolutely wonderful track. Perfectly Lovely, another good track. Again, Virginia's vocals are strong, some nice keyboard in it. Tom's drumming is pretty solid as well. Catching On You, rich guitars, lots of overdubs on the guitars, but it makes a really nice thing. Very Brian May style, quite good with that. Save Me, a very strange vocal from Virginia. Not keen on this. Faces in You, love Tom's drumming on this. Best bit about it, the drumming from Tom, excellent. And that was the last track. A mixed bag here. There's some really good tracks on here. There's a couple of suspects, but I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 10, we've got their most current album, and maybe their last. It came out in 2013, and it's called Mrs. Calagary's Lighter. We've got Ricky, Virginia and Tom. Opening track is the title track. Excuse me, my frog, I've got a frog in my throat, need a drink. Gesundheit, that's better. Okay, the first track is the title track, Mrs. Calagary's Lighter. I don't like this track at all. I don't like the drumming. It's too fast. It's a bit bizarre, not for me. Next track is called Doris. I quite like this. I love Virginia's vocal on this one. Really good bass line here from Ricky. And he puts a great little riff on this as well. So it's a pretty decent track. The Comforter. It loses its way a little bit. It's 6 minutes long. But it's very disjointed, but when it does come back in, it's really good. It's that middle bit that's a little bit thing. If they'd have taken that out, I think it would have been a better track. Love Is Just a Torrent, a very interesting track. One of them spoken type word songs from Virginia, but it actually works. It's quite a deep track. Funny Eyes, lots going on here, very busy. Too much going on, to be quite honest, so I'm not that keen on it. You Just Don't Get It, a bit jointed, but a really great vocal delivery from Virginia. I quite like that, even though it's disjointed. I think it is really good. Then we have It's Friday Night, you know. Bit modern drumming on here, bit techno, but it really works. I really got into the spirit of modern technology, and I quite like that. It's quite quirky. You have to watch, you know. Interesting track again, but what I do like about it is Virginia's vocal and some great guitar from Ricky. How Long Before the Machine Rusts. Interesting track, but good. Experimentation, which was what Beggars Opera was always about, doing things that no one else would try. That's really good. But the best track is the last track, and it's called So Long. Eerie sort of start. The vocal from Virginia is great. Her vocal is so eerie and daunting, and even a hide behind the pillow on the couch sort of thing, like you did with Doctor Who in the day. Yeah, it's a great track to end the album. A really mixed bag on here, but it's nice that they were still making records in 2012. It's a long way from the hazy days of the 70s, but it's a pretty decent album actually. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.6. Okay, coming in at number 9, we have an album from 2011, their 12th. It's called Promise. Ricky, Virginia and Tom again. First track is the best track on the album, and I'd say one of the best tracks of this era of the band, and it's called Lions. It starts off again with some great guitar work from Ricky. Virginia has some lovely keyboards in, some great drumming from Tom. Top-notch song. Her Hand in Mine, I love this as well. It's all about the Hammond organ from Virginia on this. It's rich, it's absorbing you, it's absolutely brilliant, and some of Tom's best drumming as well. Promise You in Motion is the title track. Some great guitar work from Ricky. What a great guitar player he is. Very underrated. Some swirly little bits of keyboard from Virginia as well. What more do you need? It's just a really solid track. The Edible Woman Again. One of Virginia's very weird vocals, but I quite like it. You Misremember Me, the quirky keyboard from Virginia really does get you dragged straight into the track. Again, very underrated keyboard player is Virginia. Very good track. Then we have a track called Bees. The highlight of this is Ricky's guitar solo. Oh, really great guitar solo and a great drum from Tom. Really interesting track. Then we have Clyde. Lovely track this is. Some wonderful keyboard work from Virginia. It sounds like there's running water, and it's a super vocal from Virginia. One of her best on the album. What a way to end this album. I think this is a really good album, and I think this is one of the best of the later albums that the band have done. I think Virginia's vocals are so strong on this album throughout. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 8 from 2009, the 10th album, Touching the Edge. We've got Ricky, Virginia and Tom, and joining them on saxophone is a J-Joe. And first track on here is called Dancer in the Wind. Oh, this is lovely. This is proper proggy. Some lovely piano in here from Virginia. Sort of all the way through this track you've got to put in this little bit of piano in there. The guitar work is great from Ricky, and Tom's on fire on the drums. Absolutely excellent track. Million Miles belongs to Tom and the drums. Proper proggy drums, little half beats in there, very space rock as well. Really is a great track. Attraction Gaze sounds a little bit like U2's On the Edge of the World. Okay, sort of nick the riffs a bit, but yeah, it's okay. Escalator of Tool Stories. Tom's drumming dominates this track. It really is very, very good track. The other two add as well. They're just, the three of them playing together is great. Frozen On and I, great vocal here from Virginia, and I do like this one. But my favourite track is Dreamtime. It's just a good old-fashioned rocker with some terrific riffs from Ricky and a really gutsy vocal from Virginia. Absolutely killer track. Then I Lie There, another storming track from Ricky, both on the guitar and the bass, very solid. I Wanted to Tell You, the riffs are really strong on this, but what I do like is the great piano work from Virginia. River Over Me, Tom and Rick, the two brothers, doing really wonderful, absolutely belter track. And then the epic at the end, Auschwitz. It's an epic, it's an instrumental, there's some sort of vocals in there, not singing, but there's a vocal, it's not singing. It really is quite dramatic as well, and it's got the sadness in there, and it's just an absolutely brilliant piece of music. What's the last track? Another great album from Beggars Opera. It's just one of the tracks from top to bottom, and Auschwitz is so moving. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.4. Okay, coming up next, we have Suddenly Ahead from 2010. So this is the Gardner family album. This is because you've got Ricky on guitars, Tom on drums, and Lee on backing vocals, and Virginia is doing the vocals and keyboards as ever. First Track is called Suddenly Ahead Ahead, which is the title track. They always open up with a great opening, and this is great. Ricky, great guitars at the beginning of this. So the vocals are good. It's just a fantastic track to open up. A really dramatic track. Then we have So We Crash, one of my favourite tracks on the album. Virginia's singing on here is wonderful. She's got such a great voice, very emotional on that. Soft Umbilical Machine is next. Lovely textures on the keyboards and tones, and throw in a great bass line from Ricky. Terrific. Towers Falling, this is very space rock. It's got that great space rock riff that you associate with bands like Hawkwind, and you've got Virginia's vocals. It just reminds me of Gong as well. It's got so much Gong and Hawkwind in this. It's a great track. When Are You Rosie? Now, we've got some funky guitar here from Ricky, and then that funk goes more into psychedelia. Such is a great track. It's sort of, you think, oh, we're going to get funky, and then it goes into psychedelia. Really good track. Sad Songs is next. I love this track as well, and it has got a great guitar solo from Ricky. You can't go wrong with that one. Really strong track. Dance to Me. Now, this is quite quiet in places. The piano and guitar sound really nice together, and a very strong vocal from Virginia. Shadow Psychology. Really strange this one is. It's got a really nice groove, and then Virginia puts in this really jazzy piano sequence on it, and it's a good track to end the album. I think this is my favourite album when Virginia took the lead vocal in that later period of their career. It's just a brilliant album from top to bottom. Not a bad track on this one. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, we're now moving into what I call the classic era of Beggars opera. Absolutely brilliant these albums were. I can't believe I've never heard these up until Dave suggested. I'd heard the debut album, of course, but I'd never heard the rest of them. Oh dear, my throat is really groggy today. Oh dear. So, this was tough because I love these 6 albums. So coming in at number 6, we have the 6th album from 1975, Beggars Can't Be Choosers. So we've got Pete Scott on lead and harmony vocals, Ricky Gardner on sorry folks, shall we start again? Ricky Gardner on guitars, bass, Virginia Scott on piano and synth, and on the drums, one and only Mr. Clem Catanini. So the first track is I Am a Roadie. Classic. This is what I've considered classic Beggars opera. Great track. Great vocal from the start. Brilliant. The title track, Beggars Can't Be Choosers. Ricky's guitar is just great. He's always been thereabouts. Excellent track. Up next is Hungry Man. One of my favourite tracks on here. It's got some really heavy riffs on here from Ricky. The bass is great as well. Then we have You're Not Welcome. Bit of lovely piano work here from Virginia. Yeah, I mean, she's been in the band a long time, and she's been a piano playing is wonderful. Young Blood Man, a very little funky track, quite like this. Union Car, they may have stolen that riff from the song Willie and the Hand Jive, but it's still a good track. We Must Love. Some lovely harmonies on here. Virginia and Pete, really nice guitar work. Soulful song from the band. Keep Climbing. The guitar work on this is really good. Then we have Barroom Pearl, a great little track. The jazzy, bluesy, Clem's drumming on this is fab. It's just a bluesy, jazzy blues track. But my favourite track is the last track, and it's called Death. What do I like about this? Classic prog sound. Great keyboards from Virginia on this, who really dominates this with her work. Absolutely killer track. Having listened to these now, I think this is probably the last of their great albums. I think they sort of started to change out after this, but this is a fabulous album, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.6. Okay then, coming in at number 5, second album from 1971, Waters of Change. Ricky Gardner, Martin Griffiths, Alan Park, Gordon Seller, Virginia Scott. This was her first album, and Raymond Wilson. And Marshall Erskine plays bass and flute on Festival. So the first track is called Time Machine. I love this. Alan Park's piano and organ are really good. Great guitar work from Ricky. Just a fab little track. Then we have this little ditty called Lament. It's the genius of Alan Park's organ on this. Brilliant. And then you've got some little bit of interesting drumming from percussion from Raymond. Wonderful. I have no idea. My favourite track on here, one of my favourite tracks, sorry. I just love Raymond's drumming on this. It's probably the best drumming on the album. And you got that rich Alan Park organ, Hammond organ on there. Wonderful. Then we have Nimbus, an instrumental track, but it's one of their greats. It's just wonderful. They were wonderful musicians. Then we have Festival. Great track, great vocal from Mark on this, and the flute from Marshall Erskine is wonderful. Very Jethro Tull, really good. And then we get Silver Peacock. The start off it, you get this little bit of poetry thing on the mellotron, and then it goes into the track, and I love this. It's my favourite track. It's just something that's lots of different phases. Love this. It's very off their leftovers, I think, from their debut album. It's just wonderful improvisation, and it just is the best track on the album. Impromptu, another little guitar bit, very short little piece, just over a minute. And then we have the Fox, which is my second favourite track on here. I love the mellotron, absolutely wonderful on here. I love mellotron, it just gives it so much richness. Brilliant album after the debut, very hard to follow up, and they did with this, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 4, we have the fourth album from 1974, Sagittary. Pete Scott, Ricky Gardner, Virginia Scott, and Mike Travis on the drums on this one. First track is the title track, Sagittary. This is a psychedelic sort of track. Some great bass on here from Ricky. Drives the song along. It's a nice song. Love of My Own. Great guitar work again from Ricky. I do love this track. Really good little rocker. Smiling in a Summer Dress, one of Pete Scott's finest vocals. The guitar tones are wonderful as ever from Ricky. Lots of wah-wah on that. World Crisis Blues, a genuine blues track here with a great bluesy bass line with some lovely piano here from Virginia. Then we have Just 21. This has got some funky piano from Virginia. It really works on this. It's a great track. Really gets your feet tapping. Simplicity. Really nice. We've got an acoustic guitar on here blended with the electric guitar. Really lovely different tones. Really sets the track up. Freedom Song is not quite funky. Really funky song for 1971. Really, really good. Something to Lose. Another good track, some nice vocals here from Pete. And then we get my favourite track, I Am the Music Man. Purely because of Ricky's guitars, who's best on the track, best on the album. Then we have a little thing called Jack the Ripper. Little track about Jack the Ripper. Yeah. Love the Mellotron on it. I just like the funkier sound on it as well. I think this is a great album. Not a bad track on it. Really good listen. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.3. Okay then, coming in at number 3, the 4th album from 1973, Get Your Dog Off Me. Vocals on here are Lily Patterson, Ricky on the guitars, Alan Park on the keyboards, Gordon Seller on the bass, and Colin Fairley on the drums on this one, with Raymond Wilson doing some drums as well. So the first track is the title track, Get Your Dog Off Me. I love this track. It's a great vocal from Lenny. It's just something about this song. It's quite quirky. Love the guitar work from Ricky. Freestyle Lady's a good little rocker. The guitar riffs are great. Love Alan's keyboards on this. Great bass line on here from Gordon Seller. Absolutely top draw stuff that is. Open Letter. The riffs are great on this. Lenny's vocal is good. It's a real nice bass line and it's a nice harmony singing. I like that track a lot. Then we have Morning Day. The electric piano on this is great. It's just great Alan Park playing. Then my favourite track is actually the shortest, one of the short tracks on here, and it's called Requiem. I love that tones of the guitars and keyboards that work so well together. Maybe short, but it's just wonderful to listen to. Then they do have a cover version of Mason Williams' Classical Gas. One of my favourite versions of this track. I love this track anyway, but this is a real sort of rocky, proggy version of it, and it really works. Sweet Blossom Woman comes next. Now this is almost a country song. It's got that feel to it, and I quite like that. Then we have Turn Your Money Green. Some lovely keyboard work from Alan Park on here, especially on the Mellotron. Then we have a La-Di-Da, dominated by Alan Park's wonderful keyboard work. One of my favourite tracks on this album. Then we have Working Man. Nice organ sounds from Alan on here. Great way to end the album. Now, out of all the Beggars Opera's albums, I think this is the more rockier one. It's more rock than prog. I just love it. I think it's a good, solid rock album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, coming in at number 2, we've got the 3rd album from 1972, and it's called Pathfinder. We've got Ricky Gardiner on here, Martin Griffiths, Alan Park, Gordon Seller, and Raymond Wilson. First track on here is called Hobo. I like this. you know who it is. It's just a great track, great record, wonderful vocals and sounds, and it's just a good, strong track to think. Then we have a cover version of MacArthur Park. It was written by Jimmy Webb, and performed by Richard Harris. And I've got a confession: this is a far better version than Richard Harris's. The lovely harpsichord at the big is on this. I think this is a fuller version. It just sounds so much better, and Martin Griffiths' vocals are great on this. What a version of that song it is. Then we have The Witch. I love this track, one of my favourite tracks by Beggars Opera. Just a little great rock track with them, great riffs from Ricky, and Alan coming in with some great keyboard, just throws it in. It's solid as you like. Pathfinder, the brilliant drumming from Raymond, solid rock track, very Uriah Heep sound with that rich Hammond organ. From Shark to Haggis, my favourite track on here. It's probably one of Martin's finest vocals, and again we got some great guitar work here from Ricky. Stretcher, second favourite track on here. It's one of them brilliant instrumental bands that this band came up with, improvising. Raymond's drumming is brilliant on here. Next up is the last track of Madame Doubtfire. A great track. These musicians really, they're laughing about, gives it the laugh's a bit creepy, but it's just brilliant stuff. What a great album. This has got some great instrumental bits on this, freaky stuff, and a great cover of MacArthur Park. Just a great all-round album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.8. But my number one for me, and it's an album that I've listened to for a very long time. It's the only one I had for a long time. It's the debut album from 1970, and it's Act 1. Martin Griffiths, Alan Park, Raymond Wilson, Ricky Gardner, and Marshall Erskine. Opens up with Poet and Peasant, which is from Franz von Suppé's opera, classical piece, arranged by the band. It's great. I just love the interpretation of this, with the lyrics. Amazing Alan Park keyboards, very Keith, very Keith Emerson, John Lord inspired, and you got a great bass line from Marshall Erskine, absolutely terrific. Up next is Passacaglia, which is a Handel piece of classical music, and I've always been a big fan of classical music, rocked up. ELP were famous for it as well. It's just great. The bass line from Erskine's brilliant. It's dominated by Alan Park. Ricky's great guitar riffs as well. Absolutely belting track. Then we have Memory. It's just an ordinary soft rock track, but it's very good. It was written by Virginia Scott as well, although she wasn't in the band, she's been around the band since the beginning, really. Absolutely brilliant. Then probably the greatest piece of music. It's called Raymond's Road. It's an 11-minute piece, and it's arrangements of a classical music and prog thrown together. Lots of little bits of classical bits in here. There's a little bit of the Mountain King at Hall of the Mountain King is killer on here. It's just fantastic. Then we have Light Cavalry, which is a Franz von Suppé. I like this piece of music as a classical piece, but Beggars Opera do an absolute rocky version of this. And Martin Griffiths throws some weird lyrics in there. Ricky's guitars are brilliant on this. It's just a fantastic track. Okay, I've said this. This is one of them prog albums that went really under the radar. But I love this album. I love it because it's classical music done proggy rock, superb stuff. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. So there we go. These are a great band. I am so glad that thanks to Dave, that I've got into these, because he's always championed that one. And you know, you listen, you go, yep, I totally agree. But to listen to the rest of the catalogue was fantastic. And as I've said, I've now got these. I've done a download of them and put the lot on my iPod, so I can listen to it anytime I like. And it's great to listen to under headphones as well. So that's all for today. But we'll be back tomorrow, and we've got the last quarter final of Battle Royale, and it is between Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and one of the greatest prog albums to be released, Close to the Edge by Yes. Also tomorrow, Pick and Mix. We've got an In the Camera's View, and tomorrow we're going to look at a concert that Francis Rossi did at St Luke's in London. So you got stuff off his solo album that he's promoting, and some Quo songs that not even Quo have done live. So it's a nice little video. So that's what I'll be looking at tomorrow. And don't forget, today is the last day you can vote in the third quarter final of Battle Royale. If you want to go and vote, if you go to the community page, find the link. It's there. You'll see it's it's got the 2 album covers of Revolver and The Colour of Spring. Go and do that, and that closes at midnight tonight. So I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye for now.